Yeah, I hope that you hearing me. This is the future, all about cybersecurity. Talking about the hackers, I'm just trying to warn you. From the one and only legend, the cyber informer. Hey, yeah, this is the cyber reformer. This is the cyber reformer. Let's go.
It's time for the Cybersecurity Business Connect and Protect Central Coast Q&A video. I am Michael Trimblett, the Cyber Informer, and today we'll be presenting the second video in the series on guessing your password. In this video, we will introduce you to some online hacking tools and demonstrate how to perform an online attack of a QNAP NAS device. Let's go. So the question back in the last video was, how do hackers guess a password? And the answer was, it's split into two. There is an online attack and an offline attack. I'll show you both ways. The first video showed you how to do the offline attack. This video will show you how to do the online attack. With that being said, in the last video we started the propeller hat zone. This is a continuation of the 4 out of 5 propeller hats. To recap the last video, online password attacks refer to attempting to log on to a service across the internet or network. Offline password attacks require a password hash which has to be decrypted. We looked at offline password attacks in the last video. This one will concentrate on online attacks. The online attack is very different because we don't have hashes to play with, so it's a lot slower. What hackers will be doing is trying to log onto a website on the internet or a file server on an internal network. In this video, we'll concentrate on a website. There are 3 types of online attack: brute force, password spraying, and dictionary attacks. Brute force tries every single combination, so that is not feasible for an online attack. This is because you could try only up to 64 passwords per second, whereas when we were doing an offline attack, we could do upwards of 5.5 billion passwords every second. Password spraying attacks are very popular because they used leaked credentials on the dark web to try and log into different web services. So you're not actually trying to use different passwords for one user account, you're just using one set of usernames and passwords. Dictionary attacks use one username and then try many different passwords against it, and that's what we'll be doing in this video. In order to guess passwords, we need a number of tools. The web browser. This will allow us to see web requests sent to the website we'll be trying passwords for. Kali Linux's tool called Hydra. Once we know how to craft the web request, we will use Hydra to automate the request and then let us know when the password has been found. You can also use a program called Burp Suite, but I prefer Hydra. Hydra is like a Swiss Army knife of password guessing. It can guess passwords for websites, databases, email, remote desktop protocol, secure shell, network file sharing, and telnet, among others. Now that we have the tools, we need to find a target. In the first episode of Cybersecurity Business Connect and Protect, the podcast, we talked about exposed services and IoT devices. I also mentioned a website to find these exposed services. This is a site called Showdown.io. We will use Showdown.io to find a target. What we'll do in a moment is use Showdown.io to find exposed QNAP devices. QNAP is a popular network-attached storage device or NAS device. The logon page for it should never be exposed to the internet. Loyal IT Solutions uses these NAS devices, but we never expose the logon page to the internet. Whether on purpose or by accident, there are many accessible QNAP devices on the internet. Let's go to Showdown.io and see how this works. This is the Showdown website. As it says on the homepage, search engine for the Internet of Things. Showdown is the world's first search engine for internet-connected devices. Discover how internet intelligence can help you make better decisions. That's what we're here for. We're here to see how many exposed devices are on the internet, so it gets you thinking about how you use your devices. Now that we're here, we'll go up to the search engine and we're going to type in QNAP. When we do the search, we can see 261,876 results. This means that there's over 250,000 QNAP devices accessible via the internet. This is really bad. We can see also a breakdown of countries. Germany has 27,500. United States has 26,500. If you wanted to target a particular region, you can do that as well. I've already targeted Australia, so let's see what results we got from that. So in Australia, we have 8,341 devices exposed on the internet. You can see it says top cities. Melbourne and Sydney have very similar 2,300-ish. So what do we do from here? Well, we can see in the middle of the screen a listing for all of the devices and their IP addresses. Let's see whether we can make contact with one of them. We click on the red arrow and it loads it straight up. This is someone's QNAP device. Let's go to the second one. Someone else's QNAP device. Scroll down the list a bit further. Someone else's QNAP device. So we're getting to the login screen. So if I hit the login button, we can see that it comes up with the username and password prompt. This NAS is called Sunspot. Now I want to make it clear, this is perfectly legal. If I try and guess passwords, that's when it becomes illegal. So we're not going to be doing that. But what we will do is bring up my QNAP NAS and we'll hack that. It's my property and I give permission to do it. So this is my QNAP NAS. In order to hack my QNAP, we need to know a number of things. Once you know these things, we can then use what we know to target other QNAP devices. First thing we need to do is open the developer tools. We need to see how the web interface works because all websites will likely be different in the way that they handle login attempts. We'll then go to the network tab and what we'll do is then try and log in. Okay, so the username and password that I attempted here was admin and password, but it failed. However, this gives us some really good information we can see on the bottom half of the screen. We can see the method is a post method, and when we click on that, it brings us up other information on the right hand side of the screen. In the headers tab, we can see most of the information we need. We can see that this is a post request. It is going to an HTTP website. We can see the IP address and the port number, and we can also see the web page it is trying to log on to. When we click on the request tab, we can see the username we provided, but we can also see a password. But it's not password, it has been encoded. A common technique for obfuscating passwords is to use base64 encoding. Luckily, this can be easily decoded. If we go to base64decode.org, we can drop the base64 encoded text into the decoder to see what was typed. Here is the website, so we'll paste in the encoded base64. We'll click on decode, and we can see there, password is what was encoded. So back to the NAS. What hackers will do now is look at the response tab. Now there's a lot of information in here and this is where it gets tricky. I spent hours trying to work out what in this response meant the password was incorrect. And we need that information for Hydra to determine if the password was successful or not. So what I ended up finding was when the password was successful, there would be a part in the response header that showed code auth sid. That is exactly what we need to craft our Hydra command. So let's now have a look at Hydra. Now we will always target the admin account. Why? Admin is the account that is set up by default. I discussed the tyranny of the default in the podcast episode 1. We also want an account that will not be locked out after a number of incorrect password attempts. Admin accounts will typically not get locked out by default. We will target the admin account, and I will also use a word list or a dictionary attack rather than a brute force attack. There are a number of different word lists that Kali Linux has by default. The most commonly used password list is rocku.txt. As you can see, there are a large number of passwords in this list. If you don't like any of those lists, just Google word lists and you'll get a large number of word lists you can use. GitHub is a great resource for this. As we can see from the returned results from Google, we have a number of different word lists that we can choose from. Top 10 million passwords, awesome passwords list, word list, probable word lists 300,000. So there's a lot of them that we can choose from. When we go into the million password list, we can then just go and download it. Okay, well let's get back to hacking my QNAP. Now we have everything we need. We can see how the request is made up to the QNAP, we know what indicates a successful login, and we have a word list we can use to try and guess the password. Now let's craft our Hydra command. This is the command that we will put into Hydra to try and hack my QNAP NAS. We'll break it down. -l admin tells us that is the username that we'll be attacking. -p is the word list. In this case, we'll be using rocku. Then we have the IP address of my NAS. We then have a port number of 8080. We can then see it's an HTTP post form. Remember we saw it was a post request back in Firefox. Then we have the web page, which we also saw back in Firefox. We have the username. Now we're using user as a variable here, which means that we're going to be taking the username from back at the very beginning of the command, -l admin, is going to be substituted in there for each username and password combination that it attempts. We can see the variable is pass64. What that will do is take the words from the word list and convert them to base64 before it tries sending them to the QNAP. This is very important because as we saw in the post request, it was looking for a base64 encoded password. The next part here is a success signal will be indicated by an auth sid in the response. Typically, as a user, you won't see this. This is just behind the scenes. Then we have -v, which is for verbose mode, so we can see what it's trying. -f will tell it to stop when it finds a successful password combination, and -t1 will tell it to do one request every second. This can be increased, but you stand more of a chance of being locked out if you do. So let's run this command against my QNAP. We can see there it's starting off, it's saying the login is admin and it's trying password 123456, then 12345, 123456789, password, I love you, princess, and so on. So what we should see in a moment is that it finds my password. And there we are. It has now found my username and password, which was admin and monkey. Let's go back to my NAS login screen and see whether we can log in. So here's my NAS. We'll get rid of the developer tools. Admin, monkey. Enter. And we're in. We can see we're in as the admin user, and we can now go in and use any of these apps that we choose. This represents a full compromise of the NAS. Anything that's stored on it will be able to go in and view or download. In order to hack other QNAP devices, all I have to do is point Hydra at any of those NAS devices found in Showdown and see what I can log on to. I won't do that because it's illegal, but you bet this is what hackers all over the world are doing. You should be asking yourself, is there a device in my network exposed to the internet and am I being targeted? So that's it. The propeller hat zone that extended across 2 videos is over. What did we learn? It's very important not to expose login web pages to the internet. Web browsers give hackers all the information they need to attempt to hack your website or device with a web interface. Hydra is the Swiss Army knife of online password hacking. Showdown is another scary, free-to-use hacking tool. Thank you for joining me for the second part of the Q&A session on how to guess a password. I hope that you will assess if your devices are exposed to the internet. Don't forget, you can contact me via email, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Until next time, stay safe online.
Oh yeah, this is the Cyber Informer. Hackers, you going down like, oh yeah, this is the Cyber Informer. Hackers, you going down, yeah.